It's Sunday morning on Legal AF, so it must be an economics breakdown. We're having an economics breakdown. I'm Michael Popatch. You're here on the Legal AF YouTube channel. Let's talk about just the new data that's rolling in and the new analysis that's rolling in. I'm going to stitch together a bunch of new developments, new surveys, new statistics, all showing the same thing. We went from a Biden economy that was leading the world to just 9 months later, a Trump economy that is in the wood chipper. And what Americans are saying, regardless of their ethnic background, regardless of their demographic background, what they are saying universally about the Trump administration's economy is that they are struggling. That this is a terrible economy. Only 30% of America believes that the big, beautiful bill is helping them, or that they approve it outright. Maybe it's because most of the spending cuts, most of the funding cuts went to red states to help support their health care, help support their child health care, help to support their schools, help to support things that matter to people who are below the poverty line, which makes up a fair percentage of red states. So, we have that. Now we've got new reporting that and I don't know why this is coming as a shock to the Trump administration, but chasing other human beings through the streets with ICE and Border Patrol agents, federalizing our National Guard and our military to chase after human beings and deport 1 million people from the United States is having a devastating impact on our jobs market. Employers in many of the sectors that matter to everyday Americans cannot find enough help because we are now short 1.2 million workers right now. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it matches the 1 million people that have already been deported by Donald Trump, and he wants to deport 9 million more. There are entire industries in food industry, agriculture, forestry, farming, construction that can't find any more employees because they've either gone underground because of muddled immigration status, or they've been deported. Not because they were criminals, not because they were part of a drug cartel, but because they couldn't find a way to have a dignified immigration policy to give them proper status. Let me look at the economy from another perspective. We just got the Beige Book released. That's a report from the 12 different, regional banks of that make up the Federal Reserve, talking about what's happening in the microeconomy of that particular part of the country. And in 7 out of the 12, in the most recent Beige Book, 7 out of the 12 regions, so more than half, say that they are not hiring on the hiring side on the employer side because of the instability and their inability to plan, because of the tariff scheme of Donald Trump's. And the other part, the consumer side, the actual people's side, say that they are struggling. Let's just do a micro dive into one particular group of people. Hispanics are Hispanics, which make up a large percentage, 1/4 of America or so, counts themselves as some his Hispanic heritage, are not consuming any longer at the rates that they were. Hispanic consumption, which helps drive the economy, is down, and not just by a little, but by a lot. When Joe Biden was president, year after year, their consumption was going up 5%, 10%. You know what it was during the most recent Trumponomics? It went up 1%, virtually the same level of consumption year after year. Why? Because they're scared. Because they're going through their own turmoil because of the immigration policies of Donald Trump in their own families. They don't feel like partying and spending. They don't have the disposable income. They already have some of the lowest wages by ethnic group in the country. And Hispanics are suffering. But it's not just them. Black consumption is down. White consumption is down. These are drivers for the economy. We just had new reporting that the national deficit is up $100 to $100 billion already. The amount we bring in versus the amount we spend. There's a gap of $100 billion. Remember all that DOGE cost cutting and defunding and cutting off the lifelines to the American people from the federal government? How's that working? You still got $100 billion short. Can you imagine? You sit down at your checkbook at the end of the month to write your bills. And you have your big stack of bills and you got your money in the bank and you're $100 billion short. That's America right now. You, The jobs numbers are terrible. They just came out. Donald Trump, the last time he saw numbers this bad last month, he fired the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He's got no one left to fire because his own head isn't in there. And his Commerce Secretary, right before the jobs report came out, said these are going to be more accurate. Okay, you know what it says in the jobs report that Donald Trump in the last 3 months of his economy has made an average of 14,000 jobs in total in a 300 million person economy. By contrast, the Biden administration made over every month of the Biden administration averaged 168,000 jobs per month. Do the math. That's over 2 million jobs for the year every year Biden was in. Now we're doing 14,000, 1/10 or less the size. 1 month we had negative job growth. In other words, we shed more jobs and didn't make any. And that's all from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The mass deportations are having a tremendous deleterious impact on our economy. Just look at some of the industries and some of the sectors. 45% of the farming, fishing, and forestry communities, that's part of our agriculture. That's our nation's breadbasket, if you will, in large part. 45% is filled by immigrants. I'm not talking about their status right now. I'm just saying it's filled by immigrants, right? We're back to dirty jobs that white Americans don't want to do and aren't doing. 30% of construction jobs are filled by immigrants, and over 20% of the workforce overall is your neighbor who happens to be an immigrant and likely black and brown. The Social Security Administration estimates, wait, sit down for this one. The Social Security Administration estimates that we are 35 million workers short for the 2030s, and our economy then. So just 5 years from now, the start of the 2030s and into that decade, we're short 35 million employees right now, if we don't get. So what does that mean? That means there's not enough native-born Americans to fill the jobs for the size of our economy. Our size of the goods and services and agricultural and all the sectors outstrips the ability of native-born Americans or people here on legal immigration status that are here right now to generate enough babies to make up that deficit because birth rates are down in America, not up. Which means, as we always have, we can't be America first when it comes to immigration. We have to have long arms and embrace the exact opposite of what Donald Trump is doing, and embrace people from other cultures and other lands to come to America, to make a life for themselves and contribute to our economy, both as consumers and as workers and as business owners and business developers. We need the brains. We need the brawn. We need the people. We need the bodies, and we need the brains all at the same time. So, what's Donald Trump's plan to increase our labor pool by 35 million over the next 10-15 years? What is it? Encourage bigger families. Pay. We haven't seen that, give everybody some sort of stipend to have 3 children, 4 children, 5 children. No, he's got to rely on immigration. In order to rely on immigration, you have to stop inhumanely, depravedly chasing people through the streets and signaling to the rest of the world that we are an inhospitable environment for people to come and live in. Who in America, in their right mind right now, is thinking, who around the world in their right mind is thinking, I think I should move to America? This seems like the perfect opportunity. Sure, there's a couple that will try to exploit this current situation, but most people are like, no, I'd rather stay in my home country. As bad as it is here for some people, it looks worse on television with Donald Trump in power. So, without the 35 million people, in order to attract them, you need a dignified immigration policy. Now, I'm looking at the Democrats and the Republicans because they have not been able to get their act together, and they're together in the last 50 years to come up with an immigration pathway that not only takes the 10 million people here that are not here on proper status and find a way, yes, can we just say it out loud? Get rid of the criminals, but the other, 9.99 million people, give them a path to citizenship and legal status and work. Put them to work. They want to work. We want them to work. They want to do the dirty jobs. Give them the ability to do it with dignity. And then have us be the shining, the shining light on the hill, the shining beacon on the hill to attract more talent. More people make it easier for talented people to come here through H-1B. Not just the golden visa. They're such idiots. Seriously, I want to reach through my television, through my screen, and choke them. They are such morons. You know, we want to just attract white rich people. We're going to make it like a black MX card or a platinum MX card. $5 million of investment. You get to come in. That's not going to do it, folks. We're not going to get 35 million millionaire and billionaires to come in here and make enough businesses, and even if they make the businesses, who's going to staff them, you know? So, you got jobs reports that shows right now, already started, there are less jobs than people looking for it. There are less jobs than people looking for it. But soon, there's going to be too many people. You know, we're going to be short people. And that's the point of when you have a tariff program that's now been declared unconstitutional and illegal, which was the centerpiece of Donald Trump. Apparently, this was his only trick. He only had one tariffs. I'm going to use them to beat up our allies. I'm going to use them to collect more money. I'm going to use them as the centerpiece of my foreign policy, of my national security policy, of my war efforts with our new Department of War. All tariffs, except he didn't have the power to get tariffs or use tariffs that way. And they've been struck down. Now, maybe the Senate and the House will get around to giving him that power, but they haven't yet. I'm just looking at the micro and macro data about the economy, and it is terrible. Sometimes economists take a while to look back on an era and declare if something was the start of a recession. We're in the Trump recession right now. How long it lasts, I don't know. The Federal Reserve is likely to cut interest rates because they got no choice at this point. The bottom has fallen out of consumer confidence. The bottom has fallen out of business confidence. The bottom has fallen out of hiring. The bottom has fallen out of the job market, and inflation is soaring. They're going to have to cut rates, but they can't cut them too greatly. Otherwise, inflation will go even higher, meaning the amount you pay for goods and services. It's all your people are already struggling at the pump around the kitchen table, at the supermarkets, at the doctor's offices, you know, clothing their children. Kids are back in school now. School supplies and clothing their children, and making sure that they can have some sort of life even if it's not better than theirs, some sort of life of dignity in America. So, we're going to continue to follow the economy and Trump because there are certain elements of Trump's ridiculous false populist campaign where he uses xenophobia attacks on foreign people, attacks on immigrants to try to unite his base while tearing apart the country. There are certain elements of it that we have to focus on from now till the midterms. That is his attack on science, medicine, and health care, and the impact on our public health, on our ability to fight the next pandemic, the ability to have a vaccine ready to do that. That's one. The economy is another leading indicator of the depravity and failure of the Trump administration. So, we need to follow health, including Donald Trump's own failing health. We have to follow public health, including RFK Jr., now being on such thin ice, I'm not sure he's going to survive, and rightly so, and on the economy. These are the things that matter to people and will be up for grabs at the midterm elections. I don't want to hear about transgender sports anymore. It's not that I'm not in favor of certain aspects of that. It's just, these single issues that were used as wedge issues by the Republicans have become tiresome, and it's not what this country is about and should not be about, okay? Recognize that the Republicans have used wedge issues forever because they are a narrow-based party that has to scare the crap out of people and put each other at each other's throats in order to win an election. So 40 years ago, it was gay marriage. Then it was gays in the military. And when society embraced gay and LGBTQ plus community and saw, no, they're allowed to marry. They should be able to marry who they want and love who they want. Maybe because people realize in their own families they have gay people. 1 degree separated, children. So that changed. So then they went, well, we're not winning on the gay issue. We better move to transgender people. Let's go after this vulnerable population that represents a very small percentage in America, but are having their rights and have had their rights crushed and civil liberties crushed as a political pawn to get the Republicans elected. And that's where we're at right now. But we need to hold them accountable, and we will together. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button. I got amazing stuff going on over at the Legal AF Substack. If you know about Substack and you haven't found us Legal AF, go check out Legal AF. I think you're going to be impressed with the quality and volume of work that we have there, including live reports. If you don't know about Substack, it's a great environment. It's a great ecosystem. Go out, check out things, your hobbies, your lifestyles, your interest. Somebody's writing and producing information there on a daily, hourly basis that you'll find interesting. Check out Legal AF Substack. If you like us, hit the subscribe button.